But here's what he did.
Rhyme it. Do you know how to rhyme it? Oh, please just rhyme it.
And he really gets into
Do
it.
you know how to rhyme it?
Yes,
Of course.
We will
you don't even
be
have to think
rocking
about
it. So let's rhyme it today. Rhyme it. We are gonna rhyme it. Just
Yeah,
rhyme
that's
it.
where he just rammed it.
I like that.
Everybody,
Amazing.
I'm not going to remember any of it.
That's good. That's the way to go.
All over the Rams today and ram it.
I mean, now he's like on his feet.
How are you guys?
Whose
Wow.
Ram it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Rams Brothers the Pod. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined by my brother and the other host of this show, Nick. And Nick, it's 49ers week. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. As good as I can be on 49ers week.
Coming off of a bye week, everything seems to be settling down. Everybody's coming back from injury. You know, obviously the trade deadline is on Tuesday on November 1st. A lot of things happening, but Nick, you seem to be pretty level-headed.
Well, in
And
typical
this is a big game coming up.
Rams Brothers fashion, I'm sure we'll do this episode, and then immediately when we're done, we're going to find out the Rams got Kareem Hunt. So
that, you know what? And I think the last time that the 49ers made a massive splash, it was exactly a week ago on Thursday Night Football at 11 p.m. Eastern, which would be 8 o'clock Pacific time, your time. So it's like at the very last minute in the fourth quarter of a Thursday Night Football game, I'm sitting there on my phone like, oh, they got McCaffrey. How's this going to happen? How are we going to defend this? And then they just went out and played a game against the Kansas City Chiefs, Nick. And McCaffrey's utilization in the second half, I think he only had 7 or 8 snaps. So they're still very much onboarding him. And obviously the 49ers are dealing with some injuries as well, as I'm trying to hide the smirk on my face. That is specifically for some of the injuries that the 49ers do have in this game, because it could potentially give us an advantage. But Nick, before we jump into the episode, you want to give us a word from our sponsor, or would you like me to do it?
Oh, I can do it.
Okay.
Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends on BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, always the easiest. BetOnline, whether it's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. Every time I do one of those, I try to be as quick and precise, and I feel like I'm getting better.
I was pretty good. I felt like it was almost a recording, and it was just you.
It was a
just
couple
rattling off.
stutters, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting good. You're getting good. I got to give it to you.
Thank you.
The 49ers, Nick, they're coming off of a loss against the Kansas City Chiefs from this past weekend, 44-23, in a game to me where I didn't necessarily feel like they played very good complementary football. The 49ers are dependent upon their offense, their defense, and their special teams all coming together holistically. And they stayed away from the run in the second half of that game as the Chiefs kind of pulled away and picked on some of their weaknesses in the second half of that game. So, you know, in terms of what happened last time, it wasn't the greatest situation. I believe the Rams lost 24-9. The 49ers notched 35 pressures and 7 sacks against the Rams earlier this month. So a lot of that has to do with, you know, the offensive line being deteriorated on the 3rd of October at that time. The Rams were 2-1. The 49ers were 1-2. And it always feels like they play us like it's their Super Bowl. And I feel like they're very much poised to do the same thing this time around. But as I'm looking into the matchup, as I'm looking into some of the injuries, it seems that San Francisco won't have Eric Armstead this time. And Rams are getting back Brian Allen and Van Jefferson. And I don't think that the Niners are going to have as big of an edge in this game. I don't know, Nick, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, we dropped Cologne, the cop that we got off the streets, literally the streets of Inglewood, as the center. So it's nice to have Brian Allen back. I think he did a cool job, that guy. You know, pretty solid. He stepped in the Carolina game, so kudos to him. It leaves me terrified if Brian Allen were to go down again. But the week without Rams football, I don't know about you, it felt like an eternity to me, Dean.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just not as locked into all the games. Like I know that if I have the 10 o'clock or the 1 o'clock slot, whatever you want to call it, and then the Rams play at 4 or 1, like I'm always kind of like preemptively trying to watch games and trying to see what's happening with other teams across the league. It also kind of brings me some like additional peace of mind when I sit down to actually watch the Rams game, because I know that there's some other craziness and late game comebacks and giving up leads even in week 6, week 7 of the league in the NFL, and it's everything from week to week can change so quickly, and it's any given Sunday, as we do know. But for whatever reason, these matchups, there's always extra intensity. There's things that come out of left field, like Raheem Morris. This is via Jordan Rodriguez. I just saw this on Twitter. He's talking about how there's a lot of positionless players on both sides of the ball. Raheem Morris joked about potentially using Aaron Donald as a fullback. So I think this is going to be a game where the Rams feel like they have to, evaluate exactly what's going on, right? Understand the strength of this entire roster, right? If you still need help up front, if you still need help rushing the passer, if you still need help at receiver or running back, this is going to be a game that's kind of a telltale sign. But just like going back to last year, their offensive line, there is so much predicated about how the offensive line is going to be able to perform. Alaric Jackson and Brian Allen and Rob Havenstein obviously being some pillars, but then you're just hopeful that they're going to be able to put together a solid game plan. And being the number 1 pass block win rate team last year, and then falling all the way down to number 23, which is the 9th worst pass blocking team in football, there's some concerns. And if the injuries up front for San Francisco hold up, then we're going to hopefully have an opportunity for those two things to offset.
Yeah, I mean, just going back into the league and watching what we saw last week, some really good stuff. Green Bay lost, Tampa Bay lost.
Yep.
San Francisco lost in a great Jimmy G sad fashion. And then the Seahawks didn't lose, which is shocking that they're on top of the division. I think they lose this week to the Giants. But around the league, everything is kind of chaos right now. Atlanta could potentially be on top of the division with Marcus Mariota as their quarterback. So everything that's going on makes me like having that week off made me feel a lot better about the Rams, just because nobody really understands what's like how these things are coming about. I mean, maybe it's just, fatigue of these old guys and ushering in the new era. But speaking of fatigue of these old guys, not that Jimmy G's that old, but I just, it's going to be really, really, really sad to see this guy who's like a bottom 20 quarterback just look like a superhero every time he plays us like Sunday, which is what I kind of foresee happening. I didn't mean to completely derail what you were talking about there, but I just wanted to finish my point.
No, I mean, it's a good point, because he looks so just average, like incredibly average when he plays against different teams, right? There was a situation right before the half in that Chiefs and 49ers game. I believe the score was 14-13 at the time, where the Chiefs muffed the punt. The 49ers had the ball on their own 10-yard line, and Jimmy Garoppolo just under pressure. It's like throwing a Hail Mary to the end zone, like from the opponent's 10-yard line. He doesn't feel like he is a top 10 quarterback in any moment outside of a Rams game. And I think that's the most frustrating part. Plus the fact that there's some unknowns on this 49ers offense. Like, you might actually get a game without Kyle Juszczyk and Deebo Samuel, but at the same time, you're dealing with Christian McCaffrey, you're dealing with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, and maybe possibly Juwan Jennings if he's healthy enough to go. So there's enough star power, even with those two guys being out. But again, Nick, like that's Jimmy Garoppolo is used to beating the Rams with Deebo Samuel on the field. That's where I feel like the game plan centers through. And if for whatever reason he can't be on the field, if the hamstring injury and the strain is too hard to overcome, Jimmy G, in my opinion, is going to look like a little bit different of a quarterback in this game.
Yeah. And just to speak on what you said about McCaffrey last week, what was it, like 9 overall touches, something like that?
It was second half only.
Second half only. He wasn't ready. They gave him he has some time now to really fully understand the playbook. So I expect them to just be, kind of pushing it down the Rams' throats. And it's one thing that this Rams team has been good at, especially last year, is they'll bring you to 3rd and 1. But then they'll get the crucial 3rd down stop. So I think even with McCaffrey on the team, Sean, I feel like I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Do I say it right? Is it McCaffrey? McCaffrey. Yeah, I had a itty in there somewhere.
Well, he's a 49er now. You better get to know the name.
Yeah, I don't foresee this as like a bloodbath. I think we're going to be in it. And I'm happy that we got this game after the bye, but it's the Niners, so you just never know right now. Yeah, I do think Debo plays though. I don't know if I know he's questionable, but I think he's going to get out there.
Yeah, I think a big call out too in that Kansas City game was Debo, even though he was playing, he didn't look like a fully healthy version of himself. And how much does their offense potentially change without Debo Samuel on the field, or just a small percentage of him? Like, do you have McCaffrey and Debo kind of rotate into the same role? Do you have McCaffrey in the slot? Do you let McCaffrey take over the Jeff Wilson role? Right. So, and Jeff Wilson had a good game against us the last time he played, but I feel like there's a ton of unknowns in this 49ers game, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is a little bit more telling just based on injuries and some of the stuff they've done over the last 8 weeks or so, 7 weeks. But for whatever reason, this offense, I feel like, is really difficult to figure out, especially if you're only getting a percentage of Debo Samuel and there's no Kyle Juszczyk due to a broken finger.
And no Mitchell.
Yeah, right. And no Elijah Mitchell,
who has been out for quite some time. I thought he would be ready to play. With McCaffrey, you kind of have this three-headed monster, but now it's like, you know what this kind of feels like bringing him in?
What?
2019 when the Rams got Ramsey.
Yeah.
It was like all in move right now. This has to be the year. And it was like, oh, boy, did they miss the playoffs? Woof.
I mean, in my opinion, I totally agree with you. But what's different about this trade too, and I'm not saying that the 49ers aren't necessarily going all in, but 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. But then this is essentially the whole 2023 draft that you're trading for Christian McCaffrey. And it's a running back versus, a top 5, top 10 player in the entire league at defensive back. And, if you're dealing with injury with Christian McCaffrey, that's one thing. But if you get, the 2018, 2019 version of Christian McCaffrey in the San Francisco 49ers offense, it's going to be drastically different. We might have him show up at some point, but I think, Nick, back to your point, with Jalen Ramsey, that trade being all in right now, I guess there's some comparables in terms of the records that they have, right? If, the 49ers and 9-7 like they did last year, same situation that the Rams were in 2019, except they couldn't get into the playoffs. And the 49ers obviously took that 9-7 record all the way to the NFC Championship. So, I think there's a lot of comparables in terms of Ramsey, McCaffrey, the big splash. And I just think it's the best thing that is going to happen to the Rams is the fact that they didn't bring in McCaffrey for that amount of draft capital. That's one thing we haven't talked about yet is that you're essentially throwing the kitchen sink with a second and a third next year, and then a fourth and a fifth the year after, just to bring him in because you don't have a fourth and a fifth this year. I mean, it's a lot of capital, and I would like to see them reinvest all of that into an edge rusher.
Right.
Because that's really where they need the most help.
The Rams clearly need a run game. The San Francisco 49ers have a fantastic run game to the point where Mitchell goes down, and they're still one of the top rushing offenses. So everything about it is very weird. I'm interested to see how it's going to play out against the Rams, particularly because we kind of are their little brother in a way, and then versus how it works out against the rest of the league, because it did not work against Kansas City, who's somebody that they're going to probably eventually, if they make it all the way, I mean, they will probably face somebody like that or better. So, regardless of how much they're all in, and then to speak on the capital that we would have given away, definitely feel good that we're in the position that we are in now. Initially, now that it's all washed over me, I'm happy that we didn't bring in a guy that is injury prone and, is just, a running back that McVay probably by the end of the second year would have gotten tired of.
Yeah, no, I don't even know if that was a justifiable trade if it were to happen in favor of the Rams. Of course, it would have been exciting to get a player like McCaffrey, and I think he would have been able to fit in right away. But the longevity of the signing is the scary part, right? It very much feels like you're one single player away if you're bringing in Christian McCaffrey. You're not looking at edge rushers. You're not looking at offensive linemen. You're not looking at Odell. I feel like that was priority. And the reason why that they brought all of that to the table was potentially to increase San Francisco's offer and what they were able to put onto the table as well. So I think it all worked out for us. Obviously, this game will be extremely telling, but I think just to transition for a second, I feel like the opportunity is with the offense in this game, because what I saw from the 49ers defense against the Chiefs, and obviously it's the Kansas City Chiefs, their play design is perfect, great personnel groupings, great coaching, the best quarterback in football. But they're starting to have a little bit of a predicament in the 49ers. It's not all that unfamiliar with what they faced this time last year when they had a hard time really stopping the run. And when that run defense sputters, their pass rush hurts as a result. And they don't have the same kind of personnel week to week when they're dealing with injuries, and they have the guys in the middle that are able to generate pressure along with the guys on the edge. So over the past 2 losses, Nick, against Atlanta and Kansas City, 49ers have allowed 280 rushing yards on 4.6 yards per carry. They've only delivered 3 sacks on 2 games. So it's a completely drastic 180 from the 49ers defense that we saw against the Rams. And why can't they stop the run right now? It makes them extremely vulnerable when they can't stop the run right now.
Vulnerable to teams that have viable running backs.
That's another point, right? It's like the matchups kind of collide, because if they're going to be vulnerable in the run game, does Sean McVay feel like he has enough personnel-wise to be able to run the ball consistently? That's what the 49ers are going to be predicated on, because if they could stop the run, they could pin their ears back and get pressure when they need to get pressure. Like if you could move the ball on the ground, you could find a way to negate the pass rush. And obviously, if all of your concepts are mixed together and you're running play action and you have a successful run game, there's a lot of stuff that you can play around with. But if if they can stop the run, they can get pressure. Like, it's going to be a challenging game for the Rams. So you're just kind of hopeful that they can come out with some kind of run game that they're going to be able to commit to with Darrell Henderson, Ronnie Rivers, and Malcolm Brown. It just feels very unlikely.
Yeah. Unless we can kind of, put our noses down and get the Darrell Henderson game that we've all kind of been waiting for. There doesn't seem to be faith in the locker room, or at least in the coaching rooms, that he can be that guy, which is why, Cam Akers has been not really why there's been such a controversy.
I mean, they won't even let him practice right now.
I don't understand what's going on. It makes me so frustrated, because I would love at least to have him on the field. Like, how do you not have a working relationship where it's like, look, okay, we don't see eye to eye. I want what's best for you on another team. Give me what you have until we get you there. And if we don't get you there, let's win another ring like we did last year. Like, what transpired? What ego shift came into place? I don't know. Something scares me about this Sean McVay team this year. And something came out today that our friend Jordan tweeted about in regards to practicing on turf or grass.
Yep.
For Cup. And Cup was like, we should be practicing on grass. I'll just say that. And I don't know if that's like a business decision, if that's something that's over McVay's head.
Well,
or
no,
what's up with that?
But that's because SoFi Stadium is all artificial turf.
Right.
Brand new turf, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see the tweet. Was it an argument specific to the practice field, or was it specific to the actual playing surface?
I think, no, it was practice. It was about practice.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Kupp's not one to come out and say anything. I mean, I think he has an opinion either way. So, and if it's going to prevent injury to play on grass, then everybody should be playing on grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why, I mean, just little things like that start to add up, and it can just kind of become scary when all these players stop buying into, the Sean McVay genius head coach. Which is so weird, just to
I know, but
have the juxtaposition from last year when everybody
specific thing with the field. That's not McVay's fault, right? I mean,
no. But I think practicing could be a completely that could be something in their control, but that's probably also not with McVay. Let's be real.
Yeah, and I think it's dictated based on the facility that they play with, right? And I'm sure they want the facilities that they practice on to be similar to the game field that they play on. I think the Cam Akers injury, or the Cam Akers situation, is completely separate. Like,
Right.
but it also feels like there's a reason to speculate a little bit because of what happened with Todd Gurley, because of what happened with Deshaun Jackson, because of what's happening right now with Cam Akers. Like, it's all a really good point. But my only thing is with Cam Akers, I remember watching the last game they played against the 49ers. He had 8 carries for 13 yards. That's an average of 1.6 yards per carry. So if you're not going to show up in those kind of games and then splitting carries with Darrell Henderson, Henderson averaged 3.9 yards per carry on 7 carries for 27 yards. So, and then Powell had 1 for 11. But I just want them to commit one game fully to Darrell Henderson. Give Darrell Henderson 18 to 20 carries in this game. Let him ride you to victory. Consume clock, get a lead, and then take the run game away from the 49ers in the second half the same way that Kansas City did. That's got to be one of the keys to the game, is just being able to get a lead and then take away what the 49ers do so well in the back half of games.
Yeah. The whole not sticking to Henderson and then hearing all the great stuff about Williams coming in and then giving, Rivers end zone touches is just really bizarre.
Yeah,
it's just
in their own territory. I know that scared us both.
Yeah, very scary. And then it's like, if you're going to do that, at least keep Sony.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing. It's like, if we had him now, I would just feel so much more comfortable. But, we don't.
Totally.
So.
No, totally understand. And you know what, too? The 49ers, like, when they poured capital into that unit up front, like their wide 9 concept, if that fails, if they don't have their elite pass rush, like we mentioned, like Eric Armstead is truly one of the reasons why the Rams have a hard time running the ball in the 49ers. It's one of the reasons why all teams had a hard time running the ball in the 49ers, because he's a 6'7", 350-pound monster. And when he's not in the game, and he's not going to be in this game, he was clearly a Swiss Army knife last year when they moved him inside during week 8, but he's out. And his return's uncertain. He's got I think it's plantar fasciitis in his foot. He's got a weird foot injury. DJ Jones, who used to kill us last year, he's in Denver. No DeForest Buckner, he's with the Colts. Javon Kinlaw's hurt. The 49ers' toughness, Nick, inside isn't exactly what it was, even in week 3 of the regular season, or week 4 of the regular, when the Rams played the 49ers on October 3rd. Like, it's completely different. Like Hassan Ridgeway, former Eagle, Kevin Gates, who always seems to show up against the Rams, and then Charles Omenihu. Like, they're not Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw by any stretch of the imagination. Darrell Henderson can take on some of these players. And Alaric Jackson stepping in at left tackle, you have some stability maybe now at left guard. If you're going to have Matt Shakura jump in, I don't know exactly what they're going to do there, if they're going to play Bobby Evans or Matt Skura, but with Brian Allen and then with trying to think who's on the right side. Maybe you go Matt Skura, maybe you go O'Day. And then obviously Rob Havenstein, who's probably going to be lining up directly with Nick Bosa. So all of a sudden, like, you're watching Samson Ebukam up against Alaric Jackson and Nick Bosa potentially rotating up against Alaric Jackson and Rob Havenstein. And Ebukam, like, they have to be able to generate pressure for them to be a successful defense, and they simultaneously have to be able to stop the run. I know I've said that a couple times, but it's what their whole wide 9 defense is based on. If you could just crack the code in the beginning. Like, I saw the Chiefs ran a play that Baldy broke down, and it's essentially the jet sweep, but you're just doing the touch pass. So you have a receiver coming around the edge, and it's just a touch pass, and that receiver takes it all the way around the edge. You have blockers in the second level. You got to get creative, and that's why I liked what Raheem Morris said about positionless players and Aaron Donald potentially getting a carry in this game. You have to be able to kind of throw the kitchen sink at them. Maybe you go Ben Skoranek, you give him some carries, or maybe he's phased out of the offense and they fall back into their tendency of empty, which would be a little bit terrifying. I just want to see if they can potentially establish the run early on in this game, which what I think is a much better unit up front from what they had 3 weeks ago.
I just want to see them come out with the creative game plan and not go 3 and out and have a fun scripted first drive, because that has been lacking all season. It was hard to find last season. They seemed like they were always coming back. And if you can start off smart and, creative, you're going to have better chances. Because if there's one thing that we know, it's that Shanahan understands McVay. He knows what he's going to bring to the table. So you gotta, I've used this analogy before, but Mario Baseball, I know how you're going to pitch to me. You know how I'm going to swing. I need to think about how you think I'm going to think and then use that. So it's the meta game. It's the game within the game. It's thinking, what do they think I'm going to do? And now I'm going to do the opposite, or now I'm going to do that because they think I'm going to do the opposite. I sound kind of crazy right now, but anybody who has, a brother or a rival, it knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Totally. And it's things that you can't prevent as a coach, right? Like if the Rams' defense is able to generate pressure, Kyle Shanahan can't necessarily coach around that. Like with the Rams being number 31 out of 32 teams in pressure rate this season, that's obviously skewed by quarterbacks like Jimmy Garoppolo and PJ Walker throwing the ball 1 yard in front of the line of scrimmage, all these weird things. But there's things that if you're thinking too much and you can't avoid pressure and you can't avoid the blitz, the Rams are pressuring. The Rams are blitzing right now at the second highest rate in the entire league. So if that continues in a defense if they're pressuring with 4, that means they got to tighten the shell a little bit on the back end. And that defensive backfield has to be able to make more aggressive plays on the ball because they're getting that pressure, because you're getting in Jimmy Garoppolo's face. If you continue sending the blitz, and Raheem Morris seems like he's poised to be able to coach the hell out of this game, that's where you're going to be able to win. And it's something that even a good coach, you could think about what Sean McVay's thinking about before he goes to bed, what he thinks about when he wakes up, what he has for breakfast. You can't prevent pressure. And the 49ers found that out the hard way in the NFC Championship. That pressure is what takes you far. And that's why I think the Rams are eventually. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, especially when you have a dork, Jimmy Garoppolo or Jared Goff or Matt Ryan back there. And I know dork is a mean term, and I'm sorry.
Not necessarily.
But just somebody that's going to panic under pressure. And time again, we watched Garoppolo throw up a Hail Mary in the end zone, and then the Chiefs pick it off because he's throwing a lollipop out there because he doesn't know what to do because he sees a giant Aaron Donald rushing towards him. Mm-hmm. We saw it in the NFC Championship game. It was the same thing. So it's getting home, and it's figuring out when they're going to run those Garoppolo throwing the ball in 0.2 seconds. I swear to God, they bring out those plays exclusively for us so they look like geniuses. I'm just happy this game isn't on prime time. Let me be honest with you. So I don't need my friends texting me, Jimmy G is a top 10 quarterback.
No, nobody wants to hear that ever.
It's just not true. It's not true.
Nobody ever wants to get that text, right?
And it never was true. At least when I talk highly about Goff, it's not like he didn't have good years. You know what I mean? In the NFC Championship game, when they went to the Super Bowl in 2019, guy threw the ball 10 times total.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I know. And you figure it out as the 49ers did the hard way. In the final minutes of games, when Von Miller is beating a double team and Aaron Donald's beating a double team, and Greg Gaines, gets a sack or gets pressure and forces an errant throw or forces an interception or forces Garoppolo to get off of his timing to force a throw to Debo so that Nick Scott can blow up the whole play and knock him on the sidelines for a couple of series. It's all about timing and pressure and blitzing, and it's stuff that you cannot prevent as a coach. Offensively, I feel like Shanahan has a much better grasp on what McVay is going to do. A lot of it is because it's predicated out of the same personnel grouping. But with the addition of Van Jefferson this weekend, we really have no idea what they're going to do.
Is he 100% back?
Jefferson's back 100%.
Okay, I'm going to take 2 bets. Matthew Stafford reception over 59 yards, and which is probably going to be very huge plus money, and Matthew Stafford anytime interception.
You didn't have to throw the last one in there. I thought you were going to go Van Jefferson anytime touchdown score.
No, if Jefferson's out there, he's going to throw the ball downfield a bunch. So, sure. Which I want to see. So I'm fine with him throwing a pick if it's one of those punt picks.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, it just reminds me of the Jaquiski Tart drops the interception. Joe Buck.
Thank God.
No longer on the team.
You're playing for moments like that, and you live up to those moments, and you drop the ball.
Yeah, we know. Now Hufanga took over, and everything's fine in terms of the 49ers secondary. And, they're obviously going to be very tough. And it's a team that's tough week in and week out. But all guys that haven't practiced this week, Eric Armstead, we talked about, he's got a foot and an ankle injury. He's going to be out. Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, who plays opposite side of Fred Warner. He has a calf injury. If he's out, massive for the Rams. Juwan Jennings, hamstring injury, not necessarily a full-time player, but he could be hampered by that, and it could cause some negative effect to the 49ers' offense. Same with Kyle Juszczyk, has a broken finger. He's going to be out, as we mentioned.
That one's big. That
It's
one's
very
big.
big. Very big. Because I remember the catch he made, was it against the Rams on the sideline where he got both of his feet in? I'm not sure if that was against the Rams. It may have been the week after.
I
But
feel like
he
it
always-
was against us. I don't know. I
Maybe
find
it was.
some bad blood with this guy.
Yeah, but he's also the same way that George Kittle is. He's a great blocker at the line of scrimmage. He's a great blocker in the backfield. He knows the entire offense. He's a really smart player. He's a positionless player. And to not have him on the field is massive. And the fact that we're getting back Brian Allen, Van Jefferson, Kobe Durant, and some others, that's a pretty decent advantage. Like every podcast that I listen to about the 49ers and everything that I've been reading, they're less confident in this game because of some of the injuries and the way that the 49ers are built up front. Obviously you're getting Trent Williams back. So, you're going to have plenty of stability on the left side, but on terms of the offensive line, but the way that they're built on the defensive side of the ball, they're missing so many key players. It's an opportunity for the Rams' offense to actually be able to do something in this game and not put up 9 points. This was the game, if I remember correctly, on October 3rd, where they were in the red zone. They had 3 red zone opportunities. All were completely squandered, and one was probably a turnover, from what I remember.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and they just couldn't.
They
close
couldn't get in the
door.
end zone, and it was just a sad, sad game. And I rushed home so I could watch it, and then I'm immediately just sitting there like this. So,
yeah, it's a tough situation. There's George Kittle. Like, how's he going to fare in this game? I feel like he's been primarily used as a blocker, but had a touchdown in the last game. There's a couple of big matchups, real quick, that I wanted to touch on that I thought were pretty interesting. Obviously, Jimmy Ward was up against Travis Kelce in the last week, which is nearly an impossible task. And Jimmy Ward had a club on his hand all week, and then it slowly went down to like a 2-finger cast, and then it slowly went down to, I think, a splint, which is what he's wearing right now. So a little bit different of a situation compared to having to cover a guy who's bigger and stronger in Travis Kelce with a club or a broken hand versus having to cover Kupp a week later. And you're going to have obviously a little bit more stability in that hand. But Cooper Kupp needs to be physical at the line of scrimmage. If he could line up on the line of scrimmage, be physical with Jimmy Ward, and, obviously I think Stafford's going to have some more pieces to play with in this game, but Cooper Kupp is obviously essential to this offense. And he's a 49ers killer. He's guaranteed 117 yards on 14 targets against the Niners. So That's a matchup that I'm really excited to watch. And then on the other side, I'm excited to watch Sanson Ebukam against our boy Alaric Jackson, who's taken on the left side by himself.
yeah.
Those are 2 little previews that I'm pretty pumped to watch.
Just to speak on Kittle for a second, everybody thinks he's just like Gronk Jr. They watch him in primetime and they're like, he's absolutely it. The 49ers don't really use him like they used to. But then when they play the Rams, he's always open because they get the ball out so fast. The middle of the field is always open, which is where the tight end's going to be. So if you have him, you're probably starting him regardless in fantasy, but he's probably going to have a good game. But yeah, I think how do you feel about the game? It's not included in my picks. I just want your honest, do you think they win? The fact that they're underdogs actually makes me feel better.
Same. Yeah. And I think that might go down to a point versus a 1.5. It's really interesting, right? Even a player like Troy Hill, getting him back doesn't seem massive in any way. But if he could step up and, get on George Kittle in the middle of the field, Bobby Wagner, I think, is going to have a good game. Ernest Jones, again, is going to have another good game. If you could solidify the middle of the field while simultaneously getting pressure, I feel very good about this game, especially if you can come out before halftime, get a lead, establish the run, be able to, have an offense that has rhythm, that has personality versus an offense that could either go 3 and out or drive 8-9 plays down the field and then eventually settle for a field goal. So there's 2 drastically different versions of the Rams' offense that I feel like we could see in this game. But again, everything that we talked about, it feels like there's a really decent opportunity to be able to run the ball, gain yards on the ground, keep things within the game versus having to kind of overextend yourself without the personnel that you have, right? So getting guys back, you don't have to have Ben Skoranek on the field. You don't need a ton of Tutu Atwell. You don't need Brandon Powell. Like you have your core, you have what you thought you were going to have to start the season. So this is finally the first time that we get to see it. The number one reason why I think that the Rams win this game is because this is the first time we're going to see this unit all together. And if it comes together the way that they expected before the season started, it's going to be a good game.
I also just don't think you go to 3-4. If that happens, you're okay. Do not panic. Like I don't want them thinking that they need to pull a lever, which is something that I've said probably every week. The schedule gets a little lighter. Kind of relax a little bit. The division is wide open. Losing to the Niners twice is going to be hard, but we lost to them twice last year and we still won the division. So
it's so weird that the Seahawks, in looking at the schedule upcoming, seem like they're one of the hardest games we're going to have to play, with the Bucks and the Packers both at 3-4.
Yeah,
the Chargers are 3-4, 3-5. The Broncos are 2-5, right? And the Raiders.
Just how Shanahan has McVay's number. McVay has Carroll's number, hotel key, whatever you want to say. He is completely all over that entire process. But maybe Geno Smith throws a little zaggedy wrench into it, but I think we'll be okay. I'm not too worried.
No, but it's a good point, because the season's not over if you do lose this game, but it puts you in a hell of a lot better of a situation if you do win the game. It puts you in an even better situation if you win the game and you get away with some stuff, right? If you're not rushing the passer perfectly, but you're still able to generate pressure with 4 and have your guys in the back be able to lock with that shell and defend anything over the top, you may still identify that you need a pass rusher. And you may have to, eventually trade 2 first-round picks to get a guy like Brian Burns, or maybe Josh Allen from Jacksonville, who the Rams have had success trading with in the past.
It's been a while. Yeah, true that. I mean, I don't know if they've had success, but we have. It's been a while since the Rams lost a game or won a game that feels like they should have lost. I feel like we're losing games that feels like we should have won. So maybe we get a little bit of that magic, and we get like a muffed punt or something at the very end. We'll see.
49ers special teams is not good. Not good whatsoever.
Which is so weird, because last year their special teams were like the MVP in that Green Bay game.
Yeah, of course. But they're not as bad as the Rams are, but they're not a good unit whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. If we can put their offense in a tough position, it's going to put ours in a much better position.
Yeah, I just don't want to see them just dinking and dunking all the way downfield, which is kind of the recipe to beat us. So hopefully,
I know. You could talk ad nauseum about what you could potentially do, but it seems like everything that we always preview in a Niners week always gets turned on its head, turned upside down. It's
just crazy now that we do this thing and we talk about them at least twice a year. Last year, 3 times. So.
Talking about the Niners constantly, tweeting about McCaffrey, tweeting about Kyle Shanahan, everything. It's just constant with this team.
Technically, we kind of talk about them 4 times, because we do the recap after. So we know this team really well.
Technically, 6 episodes against the Niners last year. And we're on number 2 or number 3 rather. Nick, I think I'm ready for Nick's picks.
Are you? Do you mind giving us an ad read real fast before we get over there?
An ad read? Yeah, sure. I'll do it. Liquid Death. I don't have a can of Liquid Death in front of me. I wish I did. I'm like sweating over here for some reason, maybe because I've been talking so fast.
That'd be really cool if we mastered you want a can? And I passed it through the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong side.
Shit, I'm sorry. We'll do it next time.
Yeah.
There is a new water brand that is out. It's called Liquid Death. You may have heard of it. You may not have, but it looks like a tall boy, but it's actually just a mountain spring water that's available in still, sparkling, and 3 delicious flavors. I believe grapefruit is one of them. I don't know why that always comes to my mind. There's like 3 intricate flavors, and they're all pretty good, I'm hearing. So it's Liquid Death. There's something about drinking water out of a can. It's insanely refreshing. You could fool your mother, your grandmother, have them catch you drinking an ice cold can of Liquid Death while they assume it's potentially just a beer, but you snuck it out of the garage. It's just a can of water. You're trying to stay hydrated. You're trying to drink the water that you need to drink to stay healthy. It's Liquid Death. Go to Liquid Death at your local Whole Foods, Ralph's, Albertsons, Vons, or 7-Eleven, or find a Liquid Death at a retailer near you with a store locator tool, www.liquiddeath.com/LAFB.
2 things.
You're better at the ad reads than I am, number 1.
I don't know about that. You said water in there. You mixed in water, which our East Coast fans are going to like. And then hashtag death to plastic. Liquid Death donates 10% of profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. So that's really cool. I didn't know that. I really love that.
Love that.
I love them. Happy that they're on our team. Let's move on to Nick's picks. Dean, you ready?
I think so. Hold on. I think there's a special surprise in this episode.
Hold on. Don't play the song yet.
Okay, right.
Don't play the
Okay,
song.
I'm ready.
Always fanfare before the song.
I'll wait for your indication for the song.
Yes, thank you. Welcome to Nick, my picks. Nick's picks, another winning week last week. How do we keep doing it? Well, it must be because of the great theme songs. Dean, how about this? The theme songs are going so well, so swell. Nick's picks actually got their own sponsor outside of Rams Brothers. So right after you play the new theme, we'll get that sponsor. So why don't you let it go, Dean?
All right, I think I'm ready.
The degenerate gamblers were about to arrive with their line of picks they got from the pod. They played my Nicky picks. It was an easy cash. It was on in a flash.
Love it.
They played my Nicky picks. Out from his basement, Dean's voice did ring. Seemed he was troubled by just one thing. He turned on his mic and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Ben Skoranek pick? They're now their picks. They're now their Nicky picks."
I don't know. That it seems like every week they just stack up one versus the other. That's got to be number one. Plus, it's themed to Halloween.
I know it was tough. The collaborators on Nick's picks wanted to go. They wanted to lean Taylor Swift, but I really thought we had to go Halloween this week. Oh wait, hold on, Dean. I'm actually getting a call. It looks like it's from a Nick's pick sponsor. Go for Nick. Got it. Okay. Well, after that, they just heard that theme song. They decided to pull out the sponsor. Yeah, I mean, who uses Manscaped anyway? Am I right? So let's just move on to the picks.
I still use it.
Wait, Dean, lock of the week.
Lock of the week. Oh, I gotta think about this one. Something about Van Jefferson. I don't know what his.
When did the logs turn into player props?
Oh, they don't have to be player props. I'll give you an actual.
No. I just think it's funny how Dean's locks have developed.
No, I'll give you an actual lock. I think the Rams are going to cover the spread this week.
Rams +1.
Rams, are they +1 or are they +1.5?
+1.
Might as well take them outright to win.
Yeah, I know. Just take the money line.
All right, we got Rams money line.
Rams money line. I'm glad because I didn't include the Rams, so it's nice to have them on the slate. So let's just move forward. We got the Broncos at the Jags in London. We're trying to go 3-0 in London games, and sadly, it's not at Tottenham Hotspur. But we went 2-0, so let's get this 3-0 one. We have 2 and 5 teams going at it at 6:30 a.m. my time. Let's just be upfront about the fact that the Jags are London's team. Due to their horrible nature of play, the NFL has been sending them to London for like 9 years in a row. I legitimately think that this is going to be popping off more than a home Jags game for them, which is why at first I was leaning Jags. But hold on. Danger Russ is supposedly starting. Look, I'm a Russ guy, and being a Russ guy and a Goff guy this year has just been brutal. The funny thing is the line hasn't moved at all after they said they're most likely going to play Russ, which is hilarious. I think the Broncos are not out of any race. I think they can still win the division. They have to play the Chiefs twice. They can still get it together. They have to clean things up fast, though. Going 2-6 pretty much cements you as a loser, but the Broncos are better on the road, and I legitimately think they have the best defense in the league. I swear, they're always in these close games, and they somehow always blow it. They could easily be 5-1 right now. Rough. They're like the Vikings last year, a coach away. But I think Russ playing, they're going to finally get a good game, and no one will catch it because it'll be at 6:30 a.m., so no one's going to talk about it. 21-32. Denver shows out in London as an underdog, and I like the over at 39.5. It's just too low for me not to take it, just on principle alone. Monday, the Pats Bears was 40. That soared over, and everybody was on the under. So I'm going to buy Broncos stock now. and maybe I lose it and I lose all my money. But right now, we're going to go in on Broncos stock.
Are you buying the stock because Russell Wilson said he was on the plane stretching for 2 hours and then another 2 hours doing high knees and then another 2 hours watching film and then he fell asleep for an hour and then he woke back up and watched film? Is that why you're in on them?
Too good to fail, in my opinion. And I know he's not running the plays, but I've seen so much from him in the past. I don't know what's going on in this Brady-Ravens game, but I'm sure he's probably cooking them right now as we speak. These guys that are good, they don't just forget how to play. And I'm just not ready to kind of sell off on him.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I love
it. Yeah, I mean, I also like Russ. I like watching him play. This year's been kind of tough. Betting against him has actually been kind of fun. But Steelers at Eagles, the PA team versus the other PA team. There's a lot of evidence the Eagles are a good team and the Steelers are bad, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look, I'm sold on the birds, okay? My hands are up. They're good. But the Steelers are ripe for surprising. Did someone say trap game? Look, I think the Steelers only come to play when they actually play good teams. Their wins are against Tampa and the Bengals. Their defense is as legit as they come. They hold teams and they figure out what you do well and they adjust better than any team. I think they want to win now. Like if you want to win now and you're the Steelers, you play Trubisky. But I understand why you go with Pickett. He's the future, I guess, unless you get the number one pick, right? Like, I don't know
if I see it in Pickett. I want to. It's those two gloves. I can't buy into quarterbacks with two gloves unless it's Kurt Warner.
Yeah, I don't love what I see from Pickett, but I love this defense. Let's take the Steelers at plus 10.5. And if you're bold, sprinkle some money on the money line. Not an official pick, but 19-17. I think Steelers legitimately take this one. But hey, the play is Steelers plus 10.5.
I love them at 10.5. Absolutely. That's a big spread.
And if you love that one, this next one, it actually is kind of driving me mad, this next one. Green Bay at Buffalo. First time in Rodgers' career where he's a double-digit underdog, and it should be the last. Green Bay is at plus 11. Plus 11? Are you nuts? Are you mad? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Well, Giants, Jets, and Commanders, 3 last games, all losses.
Yeah,
what is there to believe in?
Were they not in every single one of those games? I'm not even talking about wins or losses. I'm talking about 11. So I'm getting a good team with a Hall of Fame quarterback, back-to-back MVP who's pissed. This is a play I just adore. All the Packers have to do is keep it close. I know the Bills are good, but I mean, come on, they're not world-shattering good. You take Green Bay at plus 11, and you're already happy on the kickoff because, you're up 11 points. They're using this in the locker room. Rodgers is pissed. And once again, I think there's a chance the Packers take it, but we'll see. No doubt in my mind they cover this. 31-21. Bills, if that's the final score, we still cover. Come on, Rodgers. Just do us a solid.
What did you say the spread was again?
11.
That's pretty wild.
11.
That is pretty
for
wild.
Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if he's got scruts around him, which he does. 11 is too much.
Understandable.
So we're going to run it back. I don't know how that line even happens. I mean, watch. They'll probably lose by like 20 because I'm so over it. Broncos over Jags, underdog money line. Over 39.5 in Jags Broncos because it's just way too low. Steelers plus 10.5. Green Bay plus 11. We like the dogs this week. And my quick pick, I'm going to buy a point in the Vikings versus Cardinals. Vikings minus 2.5 because I like the Vikings, but I don't like minus 3.5 ever. That's my least favorite line.
So you're buying it down and hope that they can cover a smaller spread.
Yeah.
Understandable.
So it's like minus 110 would be if you got it at minus 3.5, but then you take it to like minus 130 or 135, and then you get the point. Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I have a gambling partner to understand exactly what I'm doing here, because otherwise I'd be gambling blind.
Do you think you're going to take any of these picks?
Yeah, I do. I think I might just parlay them all just because those spreads are so big. I just don't feel like this league is capable of. I guess it is. On any given week, I feel like a team could win by 21 points. A team could win by 11 points. I don't know. I have more comfortability in the Steelers, right? A team that just got Robert Quinn and a Steelers team that I feel like can always keep the ball in front of them, well coached, and they have 3 great receivers and a great running back. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot up in the air, but overall, we're just happy with the theme song.
Yeah, we're very happy with the theme song. It was the best one that I've ever been a part of. I think if I'm going to go with one single pick, it would be the Broncos, by the way.
Yeah, I like that too. I also like just waking up and looking at my phone and the game's already like halfway over. And I'm either like happy or like depressed immediately to start the day. It's great. But I mean, this year I've been happy both times because my picks are 2-0 at Tottenham Hotspur.
I'm just happy you've gotten some comments on how that's being pronounced.
I know. I didn't originally know I was pronouncing it incorrectly, but then I found out because somebody on YouTube was like, Tottenham Hotspur?
How do you pronounce it correctly? I'm sure you don't know.
No. What? No. Yeah, I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to live in ignorance.
I was waiting for you to say, but this is the correct way to pronounce it. And I was like, wait, I should know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, I'll never know. Someone will have to tell me.
Yeah, someone will have to hooked on monkey phonics for us.
Oh,
Ridiculous
I was
episode.
a phonics kid.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening. We obviously have another game against the 49ers coming up, but hang with us. Make sure you like and subscribe. Nick, should I play the little sounder to try and incentivize anybody to like and subscribe?
Yeah, do it. Do
Our
it.
favorite little noise. Okay, you have to say that. You have to give me the signal to do it.
Okay.
We could do better than that, can't we?
I just like that it doesn't end the show. Like when you come back to us, like it feels like it should end the show, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I was watching our network. Some of the other shows on the network, they have a little thing that comes up on the bottom. Click, subscribe. Like, hey, we need some help, guys. Waving our flag, you can help us too. All right. Appreciate you guys listening. We love you guys. Make sure like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. We'll follow you back. We appreciate you guys, and thanks for listening.
Whose house? Rams house, baby.
Go Rams. Peace.